Pick up the A.J. Pollock Star Wars bobblehead, courtesy of Cox Communications, before this Saturday's D-backs game versus the Giants. Get tickets at dbacks.com/Star Wars. I'm staff meteorologist John Weatherby, Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
97 degrees now. The Dow is down 54 points at 18,066. S&P is flat at 2124. NASDAQ up 36 at 5199. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're a weekly show found right here on Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. And it is Friday, July 17th, and we are in the midst of monsoon season. Lots of moisture, lots of humidity, and boy, I'll tell you what, if this is what our snow days were like back east, I think I can handle it. I definitely can handle it. We cover a lot of material here on our show, and one that I want to talk about with the heat is really about the summer heat in our elderly. And I keep talking about this over the last couple weeks, but you know, it's really important for us to be mindful of our aging adults. And if you're just tuning in, this show that you're listening to, Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, is a show about how our aging adults can live a happier, healthier life. And really what we want to do is be able to provide resources, we want to provide tools, and we want to be able to give you really good tips on how to do that. And Cypress Home Care Solutions is a company that my family owns, and we are a home care agency that's been around for 21 years, and we assist our aging adult population to be able to stay at home through the assistance with caregivers. And the optimum word is assistance. Many people want to stay home, and it's a great place to be if you can be there. And if you need some assistance and family members can't be there to help you, or friends or neighbors can't help you, an employer-based agency like Cypress, who's been around for 21 years, can assist you. We have over 240 caregivers ready to assist at any given time. We give our phone numbers at the top of the hour. We give them in with the breaks. If you need to reach me, you can always call me at 602-264-8009. So let's talk about the heat, the summer heat. We keep hearing about this hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. We need to be drinking a lot of water. And on average, a person requires 8 to 12 glasses of water a day to regulate their temperature. And as you know, we can get dehydrated very, very easy. And with our aging adult population, it's really important for us to be mindful of the heat and try to keep them indoors. I've talked about the mall. The malls open up early, way before the shops do. And for us, our listening audience that wants to do some shopping, you might have to wait till about 10 o'clock until they really open. But, we got silver sneaker groups. We've got a lot of other groups that are meeting in the mall. It's a great way to move. And I had Dr. Stephen Bernstein, who's a concierge doctor. I've had him on the show, and he's talked about that sitting is really the new smoking. And we need to be active, and we need to be walking. We also need to be able to be prepared for the sun and making sure we're wearing sun protection, make sure we're wearing the clothing protecting our skin. Our aging adult population, their skin is very thin and very, very sensitive to the sun. The other thing that we need to be mindful of, and we're seeing this right now, is storms. And we have to be prepared for storms. And a lot of our aging adult population take lots of powerful medications. And some of them need to be refrigerated. So if you're listening in and you have refrigerated, that's easy for me to say, refrigerated medications, you should always have a cooler. They have these coolers with handles that are easy to just, open up and just put a couple ice packs in there. Should keep the ice packs in the freezer so you can take the medication and transfer it from the fridge, put it into the cooler, and be able to have that available. So I want to just put that out there. We're, in the monsoon season, storming. You want to make sure you have water available. You want to make sure you have food. You want to make sure you have a flashlight. We can go without power for some time. So just be mindful of that. So today's guest that I have on the show today is going to help you as our listener, and me as well, to really help bring some levity to what we do. Because if you are caring for a loved one, you know that this is really hard work. And I got to tell you, I hear stories every single day. And I want to just share this one story. Before I got on the show this afternoon, I got a call from a prospective client that needs some assistance. And she has two parents, a 90-year-old and an 88-year-old, that are down. And I'm going to tell you, I wanted to cry. It's really, really hard. And she's dealing with some really hard stuff. And she was crying on the other end of the phone. And she's not here. And both parents are down. One's in one hospital, one's in the other. One's in the hospital for exhaustion. The other one's in the hospital for 6 weeks for a stroke. And, hospice hasn't been called on. So this is real stuff, real world stuff. And we need sometimes to be able to escape. And I'm bringing you today a guest that can afford you that opportunity to escape. So I want to introduce to our listening audience, Barbara Hinske. Did I say that correct?
You did. Thank you.
Barbara Hinske, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob, so much for having me here. And, I relate to the people who are doing caregiving. When my mother passed away from cancer in 2002, she had lived with me, and I spent a lot of hours sitting in hospitals and doctors' offices. And then when my husband at the time passed away in 2006 after 3 years of illnesses where he was hospitalized half of the time, I spent a lot of time at all hours of the day and the night in a waiting room with books. I did a tremendous amount of reading, and perhaps that's why, that is one of the reasons I've written novels. My Rosemont series of novels are intended to uplift, encourage, entertain, and be fun for people. They're to give a break to busy people. They contain characters that I hope people can care about and root for. I've got short chapters. They're fast-paced page turners with cliffhangers. I love a cliffhanger. So I've written books that I'm hoping people could either take on their Kindle, or if for people like me who love that physical book, take your book in your purse and get a little bit of relief, which is good for the people you're caring for too, because you have to fill yourself up. You have to do something to care for yourself.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're coming up on a hard break in our first segment, and I want our listening audience to learn a little bit about you, because I have learned a little bit about you, and then I really want to get into some of these books. Some of the stories, I'm just curious, are any of them have to do with you and your life?
Well, a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll reveal some of that.
All right, so we'll talk about that. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and I have Barbara Hinske in the studio today, coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park, and we are talking about how to really take a break from really doing the hard work and really letting your mind have fun. We're going to take a break now. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We'll be right back.
While others hint at it,
You don't need to hear things like that.
here the money talk comes first. Why? Because we are Money Radio.
Most of the listeners of the station have a mortgage of some type. My question is, why? My name is Joe Capitano, Senior Vice President, Homeowners Financial Group. Think of what life would be like if you didn't have a mortgage, that extra cash each month to enjoy or to invest. And I can show you how to eliminate that mortgage in a fraction of the time without changing any of your current spending habits. It's so simple, it'll just amaze you. Call me today and let me get you back on the road to financial freedom. The interest savings alone could put your kids through college or maybe fund your retirement. Call me, Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com. Back number 090-6222, MLS number 9826, Equal Housing Lender. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com.
Steve Jurich here. At IQ Wealth, our investment division, IQ Wealth Advisory, LLC, is separate from our insurance division. Our team doesn't rely on one superstar manager who might go on a cold streak and make a series of investment blunders. Decisions are made by a qualified team of strategists focused on both the obvious and non-obvious trends. We use a weight of the evidence approach to decision making that requires a significant majority of factors in reaching investment conclusions. This helps defend against following any one factor in taking action on our portfolios. At IQ Wealth, we believe our methodology results in an investment strategy to both protect your money in rough times and to grow it when opportunities arise.
Investment advisory services by IQ Wealth Advisory, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength of the insurer, so compare with Steve. Call 480-902-3333. Visit IQWealth.com. Call 480-902-3333. Call Steve now. Western WiMAX, simply the best and most reliable solution for your internet and data needs for your business. Call today, 480-575-7550. Western WiMAX.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We are on segment number 2, and I've got Barbara Hinske here in the studio, right here, coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. And if you missed our first segment, you can catch it right up on our website at cypresshomecare.com, and you can catch about 80 or so others that we've been coming at you for about 19, 20 months now. So, Barbara, I want our listening audience to know a little bit about you, because we're going to talk about your books, but you're a real person, too, beside a novelist. So if you could share with our listening audience a little bit about you, where you're from, what do you do when you're not writing, what do you do for fun, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, thank you, Bob. My day job is as an attorney. I'm a practicing attorney, have been for 35 years in Arizona, and love my day job. My passion, I'm from Ohio originally, and so my books are set in the Midwest. I write about what I know about. My passions are entertaining and gardening, cooking, family, friends, neighborhood get-togethers. I'm addicted to consignment shopping. I'm always poking around Goodwill and the consignment stores and decorating, all that kind of stuff. I'm a homebody, and I think my books reflect that. I started writing, well, I grew up wanting to be Jo from Little Women when I was a little kid. You know, I'd write plays and things for my brothers and my brother and my nephews, my cousins to act, and of course they wouldn't cooperate in any of that. My dad also read to me every night of my childhood and would read what was written and then take off and make up stuff, and the game was for me to guess what he was making up. So he was a big influence in my life. And when Dad retired, he wrote novels. He wrote very clever whodunits that he would never let any of us see. He didn't query an agent. They just sat in a box. And I inherited them when he passed away. So I decided when I retired, I would edit them and publish them for him. I do a lot of technical writing as a lawyer, but I hadn't done creative writing. Well, as life sometimes does, life pushed me into a different path, sort of literally. I broke my neck in a car accident in 2010. And I was in a neck brace. I had double vision for months and still have some lingering double vision when I read, which is kind of a problem. But at any rate, I was in a neck brace. I couldn't watch TV or read with double vision. I wasn't allowed to be on the computer. I was in absolutely no pain. So what could I do? I was bored out of my mind. I could walk. And I walked miles and miles round and round my street. And I just started creating this fictional world. And I thought, well, instead of revising Dad's works, why don't you just write your own book? I felt like my dad was talking to me saying, Barb, write your own book. So I created this whole elaborate world of characters and settings and all kinds of stuff. When my vision improved to the point where I could do more than outline on a legal pad, when I could write, I knew I had a big book. I had more than what I could write in one book. So I decided to write a series. I love television series versus movies because I love to get involved with characters. I love Alexander McCall Smith and Fannie Flagg, Mitford, the town of Mitford that Jan Cairn created, and Cedar Cove that Debbie McComber created. So I reproduce that kind of world in my Rosemont series. Although it's set current day, they have a little slightly more old-fashioned feel to them, sort of a simpler time where there are more connections. And I am absolutely passionate about writing and about creating these worlds.
Well, I'll tell you what, I love it. I love your passion. You can really see it. And I know you've had a lot of life stuff happen to you. And I just learned with our listening audience about your broken neck. And I know you've had a lot of loss in your life. And a lot of our listeners have had the same. And, for you to take those adversities and put that into words. I mean, you and I talked about it just as we were starting the show. It's a great release, a great way to escape the real world. And many of our listeners are dealing with real world stuff. And to get away from it all is truly a great way to get respite and to get relief.
Well, it most certainly is. I'm a widow as well. Now, the difference between my main character, we'll talk about her, is a widow, and her late husband was a real bad guy. My late husband was a wonderful guy. And I've been very lucky in love because I've married another wonderful man in 2010 who's been very supportive of my writing. And anything I want to do, my husband's very supportive of. I think the best piece of advice anybody gave me when I was going through the long illness, my late husband was sick for 3 years, and we had 2 kids at the time, 8 and 11, was the counselor advised me, think of how your favorite actress would play the part if she were cast in your part. The counselor said to me, you've been cast in a role you didn't want. You didn't audition for it. You said, no, thank you, I don't want this part, but nonetheless, it was yours. That was very helpful to me because there were a lot of days when I didn't feel like really getting up and slapping on makeup and making breakfast and looking happy. But I thought, well, okay, how would Sally Field handle this? How would Meryl Streep play this?
June Cleaver.
June Cleaver. They would not be lazing around and scaring their kids by how bad they looked, and the neighborhood kids.
Right.
So I know that seems simple, but it was a very easy thing to implement. And it was so helpful. I'm always grateful for that piece of advice.
And that is great advice. I mean, it really, truly is. I mean, because you need to be mom. You need to be strong. And you were and still are an attorney. You needed to go in and work on behalf of your clients. Life throws twists and turns in each one of us. And really, I think the big guy upstairs is testing us all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's really how you deal with it. And you have really dealt with it very well. And you've been very successful in writing these books. And And I'm anxious to hear a little bit more about Maggie Martin, because she is the main character, correct?
She is.
And Maggie Martin is an interesting character. And if you could, I know we're going to come up on a break real soon, but give us just a little synopsis of who Maggie Martin is.
Sure. Maggie is 55. She's a forensic accountant. She's the mother of 2, grandmother of 2. Her kids are grown. Her daughter is continually lovelorn and looking for the love of her life. How many of us have had a friend, a daughter, a niece who's in that spot? She is, as I said, a forensic accountant. She's all of us. She's a conglomerate of so many women I know. She spent her life supporting her husband and her children and their dreams, their hopes, sort of playing everything as the second string. Well, now she's got her chance to be in the limelight. She's resilient, optimistic, and tenacious. She doesn't get gridlocked by regret or indecision. She's what all of us would really like to be on our best day. She's a character I think has inspired other people. I had two readers email me after reading my last book, Uncovering Secrets, saying that Maggie inspired them not to retire, but to continue on. One woman was a teacher, and she said there are still things she wanted to do. Another woman, so touched me, is a counselor. She had a medical issue, I guess, knee replacement or something, was going to medically retire and said, no, I'm going to come back to work. And she wrote me and said she was going to explore adding to her counseling practice the introduction of hopeful books like these for people to read and give them respite and help them.
Your first book, Coming to Rosemont, was released about 4 years ago. And I want to just give our listening audience just a quick synopsis as we get ready to take a break. Forensic accountant Maggie Martin's well-ordered life is shattered by her husband's untimely death and double life he concealed. See, he was a bad guy. Dealing with the financial and emotional wreckage left in Paul's wake, she is stunned to learn that he inherited an estate known as Rosemont in the seemingly serene Midwestern town of Westbury. Seeking a fresh start and a quiet, solitary life, she moves halfway across the country to make Rosemont her home. Before she can unpack her first box, she's knee-deep in a battle against political corruption, where defeat and retreat are not an option. Still bearing the scars of betrayal, will she find joy, romance, and possibility in Westbury? So I'll leave that for our listening audience to kind of ponder over, but great stuff. Chicken soup for the soul here. Barbara, we're up on another break here. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. My name is Bob Roth, and I've got Barbara Hinske, a author of this great series called Coming to Rosemont. It's the Rosemont series.
It's the Rosemont series.
The Rosemont series. We'll be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
In the aftermath of Thursday's attacks in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Bill Killian, U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Tennessee, says the killing of 6 Marines is being considered an act of terrorism.
It is being led by the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and we will continue to investigate it as an act of terrorism until the proof shows us otherwise.
And House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Michael McCall thinks this attack was inspired by ISIS.
And this fight against ISIS and the terrorists must escalate, and we must win.
A former top official with FIFA, World Soccer's governing body, is in the United States to face racketeering and bribery charges. And a man sought for shooting 4 people in northern Maine last night has been captured in Holton. His name is Anthony Lord. A woman who was with him is safe. I'm Evan Haining.
Enemies lurk in every shadow. They smell your weakness. That is when they strike.
On Sunday, Spike presents a 3-night epic event. Todd.
He may love you, but I am his queen.
Academy Award winner Ben Kingsley.
You'll be risen as a god.
In the untold story of the boy king.
I am your pharaoh!
Who would become a legend.
Fate is not what you are given. It is what you take.
Todd. The 3-night epic event begins Sunday at 9 on Spike.
I'm a carbon fiber 29er full suspension mountain bike. My owner and I are attached to the hip, literally. We were, until the apartment got robbed while he was at his vinyasa yoga class. And the burglar used me to make his getaway. My owner's gonna be uber bummed when he realizes I'm gone. I guess he'll have to find another way to get his daily dose of adrenaline. Maybe he can take up urban beekeeping.
Your stuff can't protect itself. That's why the Geico Insurance Agency helps make it easy to switch and save on renter's insurance. Renter's insurance will cover personal property loss or damage as well as provide liability protection. Visit geico.com today.
It's summertime, and you know what that means. Time to sit back and relax with a good radio station like Money Radio. You're already here, so now just sit back and relax.
Attention boomers and retirees. Call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604, extension 200, to learn about an asset allocation strategy that encompasses up to 50 dividend-paying stocks, up to 10 exchange-traded funds in different sectors of our market, up to 12 high-yield corporate bonds, and the principal-protected low-cost new generation annuity to ensure a potentially secure retirement. 800-957-5604 and dial extension 200 to set up your complimentary strategy session with Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions, or go online at www.theripa.com. That's 800-957-5604, extension 200. Call today. Please read prospectus for risks, fees, and charges. That's 800-957-5604, extension 200. Call today.
You know, they say money doesn't grow on trees, but remember, trees produce timber, and timberland as an investment has risen faster and with less volatility than the Standard & Poor's 500 index. In fact, since 1987 alone, in spite of minor losses in 2010 due to the U.S. housing slump, the NCREIF's Timberland Index has risen 15% per year compared to 9.61% for the S&P. During the Great Depression, in fact, stocks plunged 70%, yet timber gained 233%. And even in 2008, when the S&P lost 38%, the Timberland Index gained 9.5%. Nothing, of course, is guaranteed, but trees do grow every year by 4 to 8%, and they are unaffected by wars, politics, interest rates, and market crashes. Want more information on how to acquire timberland? Call my friend Alex Wilson at Maderas Futura at 855-888-6288, or go online at PreciousTimber.com. That's PreciousTimber.com.
At Kubota, value means getting more than you expected for less than you thought. Visit your Kubota dealer today for incredible finance offers and instant cash rebates. That's value. That's Kubota.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. Home building advanced in June, the latest sign of momentum in the housing market. The Commerce Department said housing starts rose nearly 10%, with the gain driven entirely by construction of multifamily housing units. New applications for building permits, a bellwether for construction in future months, increased by more than 7%. Electric car maker Tesla Motors unveiled some new features for its Model S sedan. The company will offer an upgraded battery, drop the price for a single motor Model S to $70,000, and upgrade the Model S to what it calls ludicrous mode, which allows for 0 to 60 acceleration in 2.8 seconds. The company said the next car, the Model X SUV, is on track for deliveries in 2 months. Tesla shares are up 2.5%. The broader market remains mixed. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 52 points. The Nasdaq Composite is up 30. That's Your Money Now.
In 2001, Vonage revolutionized home phone service, making it better. After such an achievement, who would have blamed Vonage if they said, "Enjoy better, people. We'll be by the pool." But the thing about better is, there's always more better. So today, Vonage is not unleashing its ripped abdominals by the pool, but is back to work transforming communications for business by making it better with award-winning cloud-based solutions. See how your business can get the better it deserves. Call 1-800-5VONAGE or go to Vonage.com. Vonage, the business of better.
When you're running your own business, you're bound to be busy. Too busy.
Too busy worrying about your budget. Too busy scheduling appointments. Too busy to build a website for your business. And because you're too busy, it has to be easy. And that's where Wix.com comes in. With Wix.com, it's easy for you to create your stunning website. Go to Wix.com and create your website today. It's easy and free. That's Wix.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And we're up on our third segment. I've got Barbara Hinske, local author here in the studio. She has written several books that she refers to as the Rosemont series. And we gave just a little tease on coming to Rosemont and talking about Maggie Martin. And I just want you to know that Barbara Hinske is a local author of this series. It's women's contemporary fiction novels coming to Rosemont, Weaving the Strands, and the newly released Uncovering Secrets. Her books have been Amazon bestsellers in women's sagas, romance, and mystery, thriller, and suspense categories. I know you did some book signings recently. You're kind of going dark right now because it's hot. It's really hot, and not too many people are standing in line waiting to get books and get your signature. But I would imagine you may want to pick that back up in the fall and maybe in the winter, especially with this new Uncovering Secrets.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
as we talk a little bit more about this, I want our listening audience to know if you missed the first two segments, you can find them up on our website at cypresshomecare.com, and you can catch the first two, and you can listen to the two now. So, Barbara, I want you to tell us a little bit about the books. Walk us through it.
Thank you, Bob. Coming to Rosemont finds Maggie Martin's husband has recently died. Okay, that's bad. She finds out after he died that he had embezzled from his employer. That's worse. And worse still, she finds out he had a second family in Scottsdale.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah, all right here in Scottsdale. So all that stuff's really bad. She also finds out that he had inherited Rosemont, which is this gorgeous stone manor home in the Midwest. He never told her that he had inherited it. Maggie lives in California, Southern California, and now that Paul's gone, Rosemont is hers. So she decides, of course, she's going to sell it. What is she going to do with a house in the Midwest? But she flies there to look at it because she really, the ostensible purpose of the trip is to sign the listing papers. She could do that by the mail. She really wants to go and have a look around and find out who is this guy I was married to for over 20 years and evidently didn't know very well.
Wow.
And when she walks into Rosemont and the door closes behind her, she knows she's home. I don't know if anyone's had that experience. My husband and I had that experience when we bought our current house. The door closed before we even went through it. We said, we're going to make an offer on this place. Maggie, and I write about that experience in Coming to Rosemont. So the door closes. She decides she's going to uproot her life and move there. Of course, her grown children think it's a terrible, crazy idea, but she knows her own mind and proceeds. Her first night in Rosemont, a stray dog adopts her, as stray dogs have a way of doing. And so she and this stray dog named Eve, a Jack Russell Terrier for people who are fans of them.
Thank you. I wanted to visualize this.
Yeah.
I was like, what kind of dog is this?
It's a little Jack Russell. And on my cover of my book is the Jack Russell, and it's actually
there he is.
my
walking out the door.
He is, and that's actually a dog named Texie in Texas, and he's my best friend's grand dog. But anyway, so she and Texie start over together, and Texie leads her to the local veterinarian, who's a very gallant kind of guy. And Maggie's work experience as a forensic accountant leads her into the fight against fraud and corruption at Town Hall. So that's Coming to Rosemont. Then her saga continues in Weaving the Strands, and I'm not going to give any spoilers away. But in Weaving the Strands,
you're kind of just setting the table, just the plot, and just kind of giving a little snippet so that our listening audience can get a little taste of it.
Yeah, because there's no point in having a cliffhanger that the author discloses. That would be dumb.
It's like telling the punchline.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So I've learned not to do that. Weaving the Strands has three love stories in it from 3 different generations. My favorite love story is Glenn and Gloria. They're a couple of octogenarians, and I base that on a true story that I read in the Sunday New York Times that just touched me. I read it years ago, and it was so touching. So I've fictionalized it in Weaving the Strands, and it's been, I think, a very hopeful thing. And I write about love at different ages because I believe in love at different ages. My goodness, I was a widow at 54, and then I remarried again at 58, another wonderful man. Anyone that recites that ridiculous statistic that you have more chances of getting hit by lightning than meeting a love match, that's just ridiculous.
Hogwash.
Hogwash. I mean, I can tell you from my own life. And statistics don't apply to individuals. They only apply to groups. So I'm just telling people, just ignore any statistic. Not in your favor. It's just nonsense. Don't put any energy into that. So I write about love because it is important to all of us. And it's there for all of us. Then in the third book, I wrote about the attic of Rosemont. I mean, there's obviously other things in there, but that's the new element. Who doesn't love the idea of an attic that's got cool stuff in it? We all love that. That's why there's reality TV shows where people go up in the attics. Okay, so I watch a little too much of that stuff. I will admit to that. So the Rosemont attic has some really cool stuff and has some stuff that's not so good, as fate would have it. The cool stuff is, I will just tell you about that. It's silver, basically vintage silver. And my husband said that I wrote about that as just a ruse to cover up the fact that I've been collecting vintage silver. And now I'm saying it's, because it's research for my book. And he's saying that it's nonsense. I will neither admit nor deny.
And I will tell you, we listen to Money Radio, and I listen to this show, and many of the guests on here are talking about precious metals. They talk about money. A lot of them are talking about silver. There's, gold. Silver's the new gold. So there you go.
See, so there you go. So I write about that. One of the things I've as Bob told you, I've been an Amazon bestseller in a number of categories. And that's been so gratifying. And my reviews, I've got over 300 reviews on Coming to Rosemont. I am just so gratified that people are touched by my work. And a review I want to mention from Uncovering Secrets said that my series is like a cozy visit with old friends. And she's sad when the Rosemont books are over. Oh my goodness, I couldn't ask for anything more than that.
No, that's a great endorsement and a great testimonial to the work that you're doing. And again, I want to really talk about how this, whether we call it chicken soup for the soul or just a really great release for our listening audience that, is dealing with real stuff every day. Real stuff. And I mean, all 3 of these novels are very different, but they all incorporate the same town, the same people. And really, this Paul, I mean, he was really a bad guy, wasn't he?
He was horrible.
So some of the stuff in the attic is the bad stuff from Paul.
I'm not saying.
You're not saying.
You'll have to read it yourself.
Come on, you can tell me. Maybe off the air. We're up against another break, Barbara. I can't believe it. Time is flying by. We're having a good time. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Rosemont series, and then we're going to close it up for the weekend. I cannot believe that it is July 17th. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, and I'm Bob Roth, and I got Barbara Hinske in the studio, and we will be right back.
A little good advice can go a long way. A long way toward meeting your retirement goals, that is. You'll get it right here on Money Radio every day.
Stock market corrections may seem like random occurrences, but the fact is, market corrections are bound to happen. But what if you could see the correction coming in advance? What if you could be prepared to short the market before it's too late? Don't get caught off guard. Become a philsgang.com member and get all the daily market information, investment strategies, and be prepared to make profits when the market is up or the market is down. You can do this for only $49.95 a month. Learn how to invest in the market, get daily coaching guidance on your investments, and take the first step of putting profits in your pocket. With philsgang.com, you just log on and get daily instructions on how to invest in the market. You don't have to worry about long-term contracts or hidden fees. Plus, all philsgang.com material is archived. So just log on and enjoy the ride to profits. philsgang.com. Go to philsgang.com or give them a call today at 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
There are thousands of qualified captive financial professionals who work as employees for large national insurance companies and brokerages. There are also many independent financial professionals like Steve Netzel of Netzel Financial who are not bound to any given insurance company, investment strategy, or product. If your financial planner is an employee who is contractually bound to represent only specific products, imagine the hundreds of other options out there that could be a better fit for you. At Netzel Financial, they believe in helping those who are in or nearing retirement and that your financial future deserves a truly objective opinion that looks at more of the options that are available, giving you a financial plan that's custom tailored to your needs. After all, it is your money. If you'd like a second opinion when it comes to your financial future, call Steve Netzel of Netzel Financial at 480-219-0657. That's 480-219-0657. Or visit them at netzelfinancial.com. Netzel Financial.com.
At Kubota, value means getting more than you expected for less than you thought. Visit your Kubota dealer today for incredible finance offers and instant cash rebates. That's value. That's Kubota.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And I've got Barbara Hinske here in the studio, and we're on the fourth segment, and we're having a blast here, and we're just flying through talking about the Rosemont series of novels that she has put together. And I want to just take a second here, and you kind of slipped it in the first segment about a broken neck. I mean, we all know about George H.W., president, I think number 41, just recently had a fall, and he's 91 years old, and he's suffering from Parkinson's, and he's the oldest living president, and he broke his neck. And you're sitting here, and I would have never known that you broke your neck. You broke your neck, and you had double vision. Tell us a little bit about that. And was that about the time where you met your husband, or just thereafter? Or was your husband the caregiver? Did you have children helping, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, I broke my neck on the day after Thanksgiving 2010, and I had been married in August of 2010. So we were newlyweds. My daughter was home for Thanksgiving, and she had graduated from college and was able to stay. She lives in California now. She was able to stay home for an extended period of time to help take care of me, which was so nice. I was so lucky. I'm told I had the same break that Christopher Reeve had.
Wow.
But I was not paralyzed. I never lost the ability to walk.
Were you rear-ended? Was it
No,
head-on?
it was... I drove through a red light. This was my fault.
Wow.
And I got hit by a church bus. And I was headed, out to a sale early in the morning, which was ridiculous on Black Friday, and just drove through a red light. It was my fault.
Oh, my gosh.
Unfortunately, no one was killed, and I wasn't really... now I've fully recovered. Certainly it was in a neck brace for months. The double vision thing still goes on. I have to read with one eye occluded, which can be annoying, but I've gotten real fast at it now, so I'm fine. I just look kind of goofy.
You look perfectly
Thank
fine.
you.
Today.
Well, so I've learned to cope.
You see two of me, but you look fine.
There you go. There you go. And you look
One's
for
enough.
You look for these reasons, and you think, well, maybe God was telling me it's time to write these books yourself.
Right.
Slow up and do this. So that's what I did. I've never been in a cast before, and I learned so much about how difficult it is for people in wheelchairs, in casts, in anything. So I would like to think I was sensitive before, but now I'm really cautious.
Were you hospitalized for a while?
No, overnight. You'd think with a broken neck you'd get more than an overnight in the hospital, but
exactly.
Yeah.
And your new husband and your daughter were your caregivers.
Were my caregivers, exactly. And my husband was wonderful.
And you probably weren't allowed to drive. You were.
Oh, no.
And like you shared with us earlier, about the only thing you were able to do was walk.
Was walk, yeah. And certainly I had to. It was months before I drove again, and even when they take the neck brace off and you think, oh, good, I can turn my neck. Well, guess what? Your muscles have all atrophied.
Right.
You can't move your neck.
Physical therapy.
Physical therapy to learn to do that. And even now, I still do neck exercises and have worked hard for extended periods so that I have the mobility of my neck.
Well, I'll tell you what, you look great.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that with us. It's really... a lot of bad things happen to people when they have automobile accidents. And to think that, you came out of this and you're still, you have your health and no one else got hurt. And this is, like you said, this is what propelled you to really dig in and write these novels.
Yeah. Well, the other driver was hurt, and I've always felt very badly about that. And he did not have a seatbelt on, so that's another lesson.
Right.
Everybody wear your seatbelts.
Absolutely.
But nobody had permanent damage that I know of.
And slow down. All of us. I'm as guilty as the next guy. If there's anything that I need to do, and that is to slow down. I mean, we live fast-paced lives, and you really think about it. And please, our listening audience, you think about what we can accomplish now in a day. And you think back to the 1970s and 1980s, which you and I know very well. We can do a week's worth of work, if not more, in one day than we could back in those days, just because of all the technological advances and all the tools and the assistive devices that we have out there. So I want to just jump back in and talk a little bit about Maggie Martin in the Rosemont series. Have there been any unexpected joys that you have witnessed and you've experienced as going through this process?
Bob, this has been the most fun thing about this series are these unexpected connections and friendships and reader feedback that have just been thrilling to me. I've had emails from people in wheelchairs saying, your books have given me the best weekend I've had in months. I met my friend Helen from Texas, who is now a beta reader for me and a confidant and helps me edit. She was an advanced review reader for my second book, and that came out in Kindle form to advanced reviewers on a Thursday. By Friday morning, she emailed me and said, you've got duplicate paragraphs on the first page, and I found 6 errors 40 pages in. And I thought, oh, what? That's not possible. Well, the wrong version, the editor had uploaded the wrong version. Helen and I became friends over that weekend. She read my book twice with a yellow pad in hand. It helped me correct everything. By Sunday night, it was all put together. And she emailed me and said, I am 74, I have COPD, I'm in a wheelchair and largely homebound. And you have given me the best weekend I have had in 2 years.
Wow.
Because I feel smart and needed again.
Oh.
And Helen is amazing. She's now become such a good friend. She's got a great sense of humor. I would never have met her if it hadn't been for the books. And if we had uploaded a perfect version, then I wouldn't have met Helen. So if you don't see the hand of God in that, you're not looking.
Exactly.
I have... because I need to market my own books, I've learned social media that I never would have done if I was continuing to practice law as my only diversion. So I've got a Pinterest board under Barbara Hinske that's got boards devoted to the Rosemont house and the town and all kinds of things. And I've got reader boards so readers can post their own images.
You know what I want to do, because I know we're gonna run out of time real soon. I want to give our listening audience how to get a hold of you. So first of all, she's got a website, barbarahinske.com, and that's BARBARA, Hinske spelled HINSKE.com. Or you can call her at 602-206-0454. And your books are up on Amazon. They're available in Kindle version, so you can bring them down digitally.
Correct.
And I definitely encourage our listening audience to at least start with coming to Rosemont, and that really begins the whole series. You sit here and talk about Helen, and I can't help but think about a lot of my clients and the care that we provide for them. We have so many disabled people out there, and we've got aging adults that are homebound just like she is, and just have so much more to give. And, I just want to make this last appeal before we end our show today. We're looking for caregivers, not just Cypress, but many aging adults, many disabled people. We're looking for caring spirits. We're looking for people that want to make a difference in somebody's life. And for them, they want to be able to stay at home, but they can't do it without that assistance. So if you or somebody out there, you have a friend or family member that wants to make a difference, call Cypress Home Care at 602-264-8009. Barbara Hinske, it's hard to believe that we're done. I've really enjoyed having you on the show, and I'm taking this book home with me. And I encourage each one of our listeners, go to Amazon, go to Barbara's website, read the Rosemont series. You've been listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You. I'm Bob Roth, and Barbara Hinske here. We're going to say so long. Make it a great day. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Bob, very much. I've loved being here.
I loved having you. Take care. Bye-bye.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth's Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Hi, I'm Johnny D.
And I'm Rick, the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today
and the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing.
And call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.
And 99.3 FM.
It's KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix. As we reach out to you every day, please be aware there are ways for you to reach out to us. Go to moneyradio1510.com and click on Contact. Dow is down 37 points right now. The NASDAQ up 45 and the S&P 500 up 2.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin